On this day in 1966, Celtic were gifted an Irish Wolfhound pup by Aer Lingus before a 1-0 win over Motherwell. The logistics involved in organising Celtic's European Cup Winners' Cup quarter-final second leg against Dynamo Kiev in January 1966 proved far more difficult than the match itself. With teams from the Soviet Union competing in European club competition for the first time, the communist regime was in no mood to make things easy for Western visitors. The second leg, which had to be played in Tbilisi due to Kiev being snowbound, was due to take place on the 20th of January. Celtic chartered an Aer Lingus plane for the flight, but because the Irish government had no diplomatic relations with the USSR, the Soviets insisted they could not fly directly to Tbilisi. Celtic refused to travel, leading to the postponement of the match. After much diplomatic wrangling, the game was rescheduled for the 26th of January 1966. After initially agreeing Celtic could fly via Vienna and Istanbul, the Soviets then changed their mind and insisted on the flight stopping in Moscow, which meant Celtic arrived in the Georgian capital 31 hours after leaving Glasgow. Celtic could have avoided all this difficulty by using a Soviet aircraft, but the club had built up a good relationship with Aer Lingus in their short European history to date and refused to budge. The Antrim-based newspaper Ireland's Saturday Night reported on the 22nd of January 1966. To mark their appreciation of Celtic's loyalty to their airline, Aer Lingus hostesses are being flown to Glasgow to present the Scottish club with an Irish Wolfhound named Aer Lingus 1. Billy McNeill missed the first leg against Dynamo through injury and was being held in reserve for the return. He received the Wolfhound pup from the hostesses and paraded it around before kick-off as Celtic lined up Simpson, Craig, Gamble, Murdoch, Cushley, Clark, Johnston, Lennox, McBride, Chalmers, Hughes. Celtic were on top from start to finish, but found Motherwell very difficult to break down. They had the ball in the net after only 3 minutes, Ger Henderson reporting in the Evening Times of the 22nd of January 1966. After Motherwell had made a couple of good-looking raids, Johnston went through on the right and carefully steered the ball past McCloy, but he was ruled offside. Raymond Jacobs in the Glasgow Herald of the 24th of January attributed the disallowed effort to Joe McBride. A few minutes later, Steve Chalmers landed a header on the top of the crossbar before McBride grabbed the only goal of the match with a quarter of an hour gone. Raymond Jacobs wrote, "Johnston's corner kick was neither particularly well flighted nor well directed, but it skimmed off a defender to Lennox, whose shot from 20 yards McCloy stopped but could not hold. McBride made certain from the rebound." Ronnie Simpson had barely touched the ball in the first half, but just before the interval he made a brilliant save to keep Celtic ahead. Ger Henderson writing, "A great run and shot to match by Hunter gave Celtic a big fright, but somehow Simpson threw himself right along the goal line and turned the ball away for a corner kick." The second half followed the same pattern, with Joe McBride having a header cleared off the line and John Hughes had another goal disallowed, but the 2 points kept them 2 ahead of Rangers as they closed in on a First League championship in 12 years. Raymond Jacobs wrote, "Thus Celtic gained the 2 points which were as important for their championship aspirations as for Motherwell's struggle to cope with the anxieties pressing on them at the opposite end of the ladder. But it was a game so heavily dominated by one side without yielding a more clear-cut result that it could not by any standards be described as distinguished." The following morning, Celtic set out from Prestwick on what would become an odyssey behind the Iron Curtain. It would be interesting to know whatever became of the Wolfhound pup.